Adno, Waterocadno. On behalf of the Principi Sen Patrina, I must request we meet in parley. Così. It has been some time since I last asked another's permission. I have heard some marvelous tales regarding your ventures in the Deerwood. In fact, you are the first dragon slayer I have ever met, outside of a grave. Some fools would seek to make a fortune by pilfering from one such as you.
He's done his research. Might as well hear him out.
I believe you have met such a fool. Captain Benweth of the Drake. Voxen of Ubilnet Merla. Careful, ship hunter. Mind that you do not confuse a useful skill set for a non-expendable one. My apologies. Rest assured, it will not happen again.
Apologies, Captain. Didn't mean it, really. We're up all night, you know, searching out our friend here. You've been at sea a while. Your mind starts playing tricks on you, aye? Well, mine plays tricks on others, too. Usually don't mean much. Maybe see a bit of shadow, hear a bit of tune. Not less a person sensitive. Like, say, a watcher.
This is the first you are hearing of us, truly? We are a magnificent but largely landless people, so we have come to own the sea. To survive, we must seize prosperity where we can. Hence, we are oft labeled as pirates, smugglers, merchants of illicit trade, or mercenaries. It will not always be so, but it is for now. Allow me to introduce one of my more special acquisitions.
Not to say that I ain't wildly honored to be making the acquaintance of a lord as dashing as yourself.
The short-sighted scoundrel has been wreaking havoc in the area for months. He is no son of Velia. I do not fault his ancestry, but he disregards too much the grand heritage we Principi represent. Benweth is the second most selfish captain within the Principi's newest generation. He risks all that we value. Perhaps I have said too much. She is a problem solely of my own, for now. Few pirates retire comfortably, amico. We sink and we hang or we burn. We must replace our losses, accepting from many regions, including the Deadfire. We are descended from refugees who fled during Old Velia's decline. They sailed the eastern reach to the Deadfire, but they did not settle the islands. Today, even, our shipboard life continues. Benweth is no captain of mine, amico. It is not beneath my flag his Drake sails. Yet I do seek to temper his actions when they would endanger the Principe altogether. Are you saying if we rile you, you will pose no threat to us? Ecosi, pardon if I do not believe you, Dragon Slayer. Word of Benweth's raid on the Defiant will spread throughout the Deadfire. More fools will seek to prey upon you. I would suggest you stave off all others by making an example of Benweth.
For Ortiz, do my job for me, friend. Hope you don't die in the effort.
I will be honest with you, amigo. I do not favor Benweth, nor do I care for the company he keeps. Such fools and scoundrels serve only to tarnish the Principe's reputable name. But I believe you will be capable of setting him straight. I am a gentleman, of course, and I am certainly not a fool. Of course, amigo. Work with me, and I will weight your pockets with gold. When you have dealt with my problem, I will prepare a fine welcome for you at my port. Now, a tip for you. Benweth's Drake took damage during the storm. Eventually, he will need to dock for repairs, and when he does, Seraphin can find him for you. He is rather an unrefined creature, but he is a most skilled ship hunter, I assure you.
Unrefined? Begging your pardon, Captain, but I'd be the high fucking model of the Gentleman of Fortune. As for Benweth, that sucker of squid tits be as predictable as the tide. I'd wager all my furriest bits that he'd set sail for Deadlight.
That would be felicitous indeed, as I believe the traitor Remaro hides there as well. I quite enjoy killing two men with a single bullet.
Wouldn't have even thought of it if you hadn't brought it up, sir. Now, I ain't hardly in any hurry to leave the fine company of the Gentlemen of Leisure, but the Captain be right about me finding your mark. Adding to that, you sail into Fort Deadlight not knowing your innies from your outies. You might very well find the locals cannon fucking your boat to sodden splinters.
What venture does not require an investment to be prosperous? Seraphin is an allowance, which I expect you will return, in one payment or another.
Are you asking aside from my vaunted ship-hunting abilities, self-evident manners, and encyclopedic know-how of all things piratical? Well, there'll be me knowing my way around Fort Deadlight, so named on account of it being a fortress and all. I got my contacts inside, and I'll be half handy with a gun if shit goes belly up. Adding to that, I'll be right easy on the eyes, or so the lasses tell me. Oh, you verily wound me, sir.
As you see, Seraphin is both insufferable and marvelously useful.
Well, of course I'll be eager to give Benweth the old Evo. That half-cock's been a pain in our asses for the better part of, well, too fucking long. You said you met him, I? Seems the type that needs a bullet, don't he? Aye, there's boat holds I ain't telling you, Watcher. I ain't telling you about the lass I have back on Deadlight. Ain't telling you what we did or didn't do last time I seen her, neither. Certainly ain't telling you about the secret pirate handshake that'll get you in the door. You won't be regretting this, Watcher. At least so long as you keep us heavy in grog and light on the onions.
He's not sleeping near my berth, I promise you that much.
I sail now for Dunwich, my own safe port. I will await you there, should you be successful in school.
Agrasima, Casita. Taking me on.
One more time, Bella. Ahoy, Captain. Truth be told, Ferrante half expect us to get our asses. Of course, I do that by way of good old traditional chicanery. And the most important part of any hornswoggle? Solid planning. Well, I did say contacts, didn't I? Contact would be more accurate, in the singular. A lass by the name of Ciri. Been running the same circles for years, doldrums and fair winds. Might have, shaken the sheets a few months back. Regardless of how she feels about me, there's no love lost betwixt her and Benwith, that's for damn certain. Ugh, random? What do you take me for, Captain? Well, I can't say as you're entirely wrong. Oh, you be asking me for a plan. But since you asked, just give me a tick. Vast. On the way I see it, we have an option or two ranging from the wildly dangerous to the fantastically suicidal. So tell you me, Cap, what be your preferred approach to problems unapproachable? Smart play for crashing any party involves scavenging yourself up an invite, and then dressing to impress. No, Captain, they do not. Looking the part in this case means don't have to tell you how dangerous such a bit of fabric can be if the wrong person catches you flying it. Well, Principe captains don't just give up their flags for a few coins. Neketaka's black market. If there be a Principe flag for sale, it'll be there. Mark it up and relocates every so often to avoid the royal... swapping cannonballs with my fellow prince might be tricky to not damage the flag in battle, or sink the ship on accident. Deadlight's a tough coconut to crack, but if not cracking, might be there's a way to sneak inside, sussing out a place to land without being spotted ourselves. Yeah, sure, used to. Then I made the mistake of showed him the S I carved into it, and he turned around and told me it stood for spyglass. Oh, then let me recommend you remedy yourself there, Captain. A good spyglass? Deadlight's a... Yeah, if you insist on the straightforward approach, if you breach the walls, you still got the guards to attend to. Adding to that a mess of pirates. I'm all ears, Captain. Later, sure. No hurry here to,
Consider it done.
I'm glad to see you in good health, my lord. With Cadnua in ruins, I was able to salvage enough of your treasure and wealth to afford the purchase of the Defiant and the hire of a small crew. Unfortunately, that consumed the remainder of your once considerable assets. I was the steward of your long before your time. I had my soul bound to a throne of Ardraban. And for it is... Still, it would be unseemly for me to complain of loss to you, my lord. I suggest we proceed to Neketaka, my lord.
Watch and learn.
Ship life sure is an adventure, ain't it? Tell me what's on your mind? They're there in my head when I sleep, and sometimes I can taste them on the back of my tongue like a smear of grit. Happens when I take in a Will we? Ought we? I trust you, Watcher. I swear I do. It's not like I can turn my back on my duty to my god, even if it kills me. You need me, I'll be too wounded.
Sure.
Thank you again for maintaining my story in front of Vanessa and the others. I didn't enjoy deceiving them, but it seemed simpler than the alternative. Believe me, I take no pleasure in duplicity. Ah, the steward told me about your incident at Cadnua. Aethys took a piece of your soul. You and I met in Gilded Vale, shortly after your arrival in Deerwood and in the midst of my run-in with the locals. Just so. I was with you as you sought Theos and answers regarding your awakening. And you helped me come to terms with mine. Thanks to you, I learned to assert myself over Isilmir. She hasn't troubled me since. Back to our journey across the Deerwood. We pursued Theos and discovered the leaden key at the center of Widewind's legacy. And, more importantly, a millennia-old conspiracy to conceal the true origins of the gods. So do I. After we parted, I set out to destroy the leaden key. It's controlled us for too long. I wanted to free Kith from it. So for 5 years, I've been tracking down Leaden Key circles, searching for the places where they operate in secret, trying to undo them. The task has been more difficult than I anticipated. I don't think I fully understood the weight of the decisions I would have to make, or the burden of living with them. It was much easier when I only had to follow someone else's lead. My father's, Theos's, yours. After we defeated Theos, I thought the hard part of undoing his work would be tracking down the Leaden Key's members and operations. Perhaps this would be easier with an example. I went to a village in Old Valia, a run-down backwater of a place. Centuries ago, the Leaden Key had intervened to end some heretical cult. The details were lost, but what had endured was a practice of ritual bloodletting. At every full moon, the villagers would feed the soil with their blood. No one, young or old, sick or hale, was exempt. Yes, but the specifics depended on whom you asked. Some thought it would ward off Scan, or bring Bereth's favor on the village, or Gon's blessing to their crops. The village priest administered the practice. Grim old fellow. Reminded me of Theos. He was a tyrant. I was certain that if the villagers were free of his influence, they'd be free from the bloodletting too. So I arranged for him to have an accident. The old man died, and the villagers were terrified. They were convinced his death was an ill omen. They blamed it, and every other mishap that befell them, on their lack of faith. So they began bloodletting every week, turning on their neighbors for giving too little. Instead of a handful dying each year, a few perished every week. I had to do something, didn't I? I keep wondering what I might have done differently, or how I could have known better. I suppose so. I should get some rest. It's been a long day, and you've... Ah, that. I'm looking for an old Leaden Key sect. I've found several references, but I want to be sure. Please, let me go over my notes again. Then I promise I'll tell you everything.
If you told me a few years ago that I'd end up following you on another crazy errand, not because I got anything against you, more yet, here we are again, probably on our way to die. Well, you already did, but me, I mean. All real nice of you to share. And wouldn't you know it, this time is shaping up to be crazier than the last one. But I gotta say, I appreciate how you've handled things. Thought you were weird at first, of course, but you've surprised me. Well, that's why I mentioned it. I've been meaning to ask, though. What is it tells you you're on the right path? That's an interesting way of looking at it. Don't know if it's right, but I bet that... When I was a boy, things were simpler. Aethys was more like a character we read about in church. Yeah, I guess it was. Well, most stories had him helping. You pray to him, he might help you too. There was no cost to it. No confusion about his will or followers taken into extremes. Following Aethys was right. Do you think there's any way that following him could still be the right path? After all we've seen? I suppose that's true. Not really a point in Aethys' favor, though. Anyway, I didn't mean for this to get depressing. I think this was just a long way of saying... I appreciate the way you've guided things. Makes me feel like I'm doing some good, going with you.
I got it. I got this.
The ring of a bell comes to you on a cold wind. The ring comes again and again, until soon the air is full with the sound of 1,000 bells ringing all at once. You are alone. And then, you are not. An indistinct figure stands before you, flickering between forms like a fire-cast shadow. And at their back, 4 indistinct shades hover. The shifting image of Bareth settles on the aspect of the Pallid Knight.
Watcher, I tasked you to discover Aethys's intentions. Tell me what you have learned. I will send your soul back to the
Her wan face contorts into what on mortal kith might be called a smile.
Do not give me cause to doubt your commitment, Watcher.
The Pallid Knight knits her brows. Her sickly pale skin pulls tight across the bones of her face, as if the shell of this aspect does not quite fit the impossible creature it contains. The figure nearest Bareth dissolves and reforms in the image of a thin-lipped, ancient crone, whose face has felt the melting kiss of fire. The goddess Woedica strides forward.
Does Aethys frighten you, Bareth? He should. Magran subdued Aethys's influence once before, and yet he returned.
From out of Woedica's shadow shuffles a hunched, bald man you recognize as the god Scan. His skin is mapped with swollen lash scars, and breath whistles through the ragged hole in his face where his nose once was. He does not speak, but stares up at Woedica with naked loathing plain on his ruined face. Woedica steeples her long, knob-jointed fingers.
We must annihilate Aethys now, before he makes a rash decision we cannot easily annul.
She casts a sly look at the Pallid Knight from the corners of her eyes.
A moon would do the job nicely.
A voice echoes from the shape nearest Bareth.
The lava is too large to be moved, and Koltha too quick to be caught, even for a god of Woedica's strength and apparent lunacy.
The figure beside the aspect of Bareth flows forward in a swirling cloud of ash. The ash falls to the tiles and reveals a molten-skinned woman, leaning on a monstrous, wicked-edged broadsword. Magran's glowing lips curl in disdain.
We must find a solution to the problem of Aethys that is neither do nothing, nor destroy the world. I acted in haste during the Saints' War. You will not goad me into doing the same now. To move against him while his plans are unknown would be the height of foolishness. We must find wisdom in precaution.
The Pallid Knight tilts her head to the side and gives you the long-suffering, narrow-eyed look of a parent dealing with a particularly
No.
Another of the silent figures steps forward, and the warm, golden light of a summer's afternoon spills across your face.
Let's all take a deep, calming breath. Perhaps cooler heads will prevail.
Behind Helia's words, you hear the soft coo of doves.
Aethys has been separated from us for too long. Isn't it possible he intends only to gather enough souls to reclaim his realm in the beyond? He should be welcomed.
You look up then into avian eyes. Through them, you see clouds of starlings converge and divide. Helia puts a feathered hand to her chest.
He wouldn't. Betrayal is not in his nature.
Scan shuffles forward.
Yes, yes. We should welcome Aethys's return to the fold. His gratitude we can leverage to cajole him into divulging his plot. Then, When he believes himself to be in our good graces, we do as Wedeka suggests, and crush him into the earth.
Scan pauses, inspecting you.
Ah, and here is the Watcher who killed Lord Harren, the man who tormented his dear niece, Alice. Curious.
Scan licks the ragged edge of his lipless mouth and grins, then turns to Helia.
I did not expect such a deliciously ruthless idea from you, Helia. I am impressed.
Helia's feathered crest stands on end.
You wretched little creature.
Your point is well made, little Watcher. If self-evident, Aethys has not been known to possess a vindictive nature. Indeed, he has occasionally been magnanimous to a fault. However, if we push him to the brink of reason, there is no telling what he may do. He is, as ever, unpredictable.
Something akin to fondness creeps into her voice. The Pallid Knight gestures for silence.
Aethys cannot be killed, but he may be subdued. Yet to do so will take immense power and time. Both stand in his favor.
Magrin grits her black glass teeth.
That is why we must ascertain his plans before he has the chance to put them into motion.
She begins to pace. Her steps leave little trails of fire in her wake. Magrin stops and balls her hands into flaming fists.
Even if we manage to destroy his current form, there is the possibility he could return, if he has not already absorbed all of his children.
The Pallid Knight casts a cold, cutting glare in Magrin's direction.
Magrin speaks too freely. That knowledge is beyond your ken, Watcher.
Wodeka waves the gods to silence.
Aethys gathers strength. His strength is a threat to us.
Her voice takes on a sharp, almost panicked edge.
There is no sensible answer to the question of a resurgent Aethys.
Your opinion is unasked for, but noted.
The Pallid Knight says.
We will act when it is appropriate to do so, and not before.
The Pallid Knight steps away from the half-circle of assembled gods. She pulls herself up to a great height. The words she speaks next come not from her mouth, but from all around you.
Follow him, Watcher.
The black of the Pallid Knight's irises expand until her eyes are as dark and cold as the void between stars. She bends down and brings her ghostly face level with your own.
Your debt to me remains unpaid.
She stares at you, unblinking. Like a needle drawn to a magnet, you are pulled toward her one compulsory step at a time. You blink open your eyes and find yourself on the floor of your ship's cabin, alone.
Well, hey, tell me what's on your mind. Sure thing, what? I'm all ear. Tell me what's on your... They're there in my... And sometimes... Sure thing, what?
Yeah?
No can do. What can I do you for?
Sorry, Fred. Can't.
No, that never happens.
Right here.
Everything hurts.
That's it.
I'll teach you a lesson.
Yes?
Yeah?
Hey there.
You're far from home, farmer. How did you make it all this way in your... little boat?
Why do we gotta be farmers just because we're from Deerwood?
Are you a farmer?
Yeah, but you can't just assume.
I'm the harbor master, Kauha. I must ask your reason for docking in Neketaka. Yes, you do.
Show them. Show them what you are. Yes. Yes. That's it.
What's the matter with you? What are you doing? If you're trying to...
Now.
What? What is this?
Run for it! You got style, Cap. Worm-riddled, ship-sinking, flat-fucking freaky style.
happy to oblige.
Something I can do?
Give me a real challenge.
I got this.
Need a fresh jacket or pants? Something more delicate? If you have a frame, I can fit cloth to it without fuss. Take your time. I'll give you space to browse.
Yeah?
Behold, Aethys is risen. God shepherds us all, traveler. Seek out his temple along the sacred stair, that thy path shall be made
Where
clear.
is my Postina Madiko? Where is that spoiled brat? I'm trying to be the responsible one in the family, and it's a heavy burden. Laro is past due for a company meeting.
Must be nice to be a layabout.
Fuck. I am angry and jealous in equal measure. You'd think this district was a maze, the way he manages to hide. The spirit magnet? Sientere, that I did not recognize you. If you desire to get in the graces of the Valiant Trading Company, Mother's Bank commands the wealth of the Deadfire campaign. Could I persuade you to watch out for Laro? I'd pay generously for your trouble. I'm concerned because Laro tends to feud with Orso, one of the local Valera... the Valeras. A brood of sea vermin playing at nobility. We squabble and compete, but Laro, the Pastinago, takes it too far. Tecossi, I only better to ask why Laro isn't sprinting back to look after his birthright. Would you? Laro and his miscreant friends carouse at the tavern. If you see him...
Well, we do have this thing with chasing a rogue god to the ends of it.
Aethys, light of spring, son of the world, thou givest me life and purpose.
The Hazanui is at the palace, blaming the Valians for attacking one of their ports.
Well, did they?
Of course not. But the Queen... calm them down. Or they go to war over it.